know what, guys, let's go ahead and just get started here. I'm sure we'll have more and more people coming on as we progress. My name is Jeremy Collins. I'm the children's pastor and media director at Bethel Harvest Church in Nicholasville, Kentucky, and the founder of PajamaConference.com. For those that don't know anything about Pajama Conference, if I tell people, hey, what do you do? Well, I'm a children's pastor and I own Pajama Conference, and they look at me and say, what? You own what? It's just it's a name. And Pajama Conference basically started because we were trying to get people together to reach more churches, reach more ministries. And, we're offering free resources to do that. Listen, we were first created to host online conferences, and we realized that how important ministry conferences are. And don't get me wrong, I love ministry conferences. I get so much out of them; they're great. But I do realize that 80% of the churches out there really can't afford the big conferences. They're $300, $400, $500 plus travel. I mean, it gets up there. So what Pajama Conference was basically we just partner with ministry leaders out there that really want to invest and build up His kingdom. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're going to invest and build up His kingdom, and basically Pajama Conference is a resource to do just that. Our main goal is to partner with ministry leaders just like you guys here to do that, to build people up. Today's all about pretty cool. I love Pajamanars are fun. Pajamanars are basically just us hanging back, relaxing, and just talking and teaching new things. I bring people in to just talk about what their expertise are. Today I've actually brought a good friend of mine, Gordon Daly. He's actually owner of Boxcast. And Gordon, we met a couple months ago, and I love what he does. He provides resources that provides these online stuff. It's great. And we're going to talk about online live streaming today, something that I'm real passionate about. Pajama Conference would not be possible if it wasn't for live streaming. What we do is really, we use the live streaming for so much stuff. If we do meetings and all this stuff, we just hop in and go right at it with live streaming. One day, I'm telling you, we're going to have live streaming churches all over across the world that people just hop in and attend. And I think that live streaming is just a key that most churches, haven't adapted to yet. They haven't really understood why you do that, why you do this. So what I brought Gordon on today is just to talk a little bit about that. Gordon, if you do me a favor and just introduce yourself a little bit and say hi to everybody, and then just rock and roll with us about live streaming.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks so much, Jeremy. I appreciate you giving me a chance to come in and invite me in to share some of what we do. I'm the president of Boxcast, and we've been in business for a few years now. We actually came out of live streaming as a technology consulting company. We'd go in when someone wanted to build a website, and one of the add-ons we would do was give them the ability to, as easy as possible, make a live stream happen. And we have a little bit of experience and background in the automation industry too, having worked to build cars and in the transportation industry for moving people. And we wanted to leverage some of that automation to just make it possible for people to do live streaming without the hassle of it, because we knew that if we could make it less of a hassle, what we could do is provide a way for people to be able to do the live stream on a smaller scale. And that certainly is true for churches. And so that's kind of where we got going in the beginning. But since then, we've really been tackling the idea of just trying to get the gospel out in any way we can, and certainly live streaming gives us a facility to do that. So thanks so much for inviting me in to talk. My hope is that you guys get a better feel for the landscape of what's out there in the world of live streaming. Maybe you can learn from some of the lessons that we've learned in getting these systems set up for our customers.
It's great, man. As you're talking about that right there, the best question I get when I travel and I talk to different churches, and as the IT director, I kind of just, that's the way I go, and I talk to these churches. The biggest question I get is, live streaming. Yeah, that seems very complicated, and it really has got to the point now with technology. It's really not that complicated, and a lot of people, I guess a lot of companies out there try to hey, it's really, you got to hire me to do this. And I'm just like, guys, I'm doing it from, obviously, when I do pajama conferences, I'm doing it from my house sometimes, in my bedroom. And it's just crazy the way how simple things are, but you can reach so broad.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And just in the last 2 or 3 years, just to see how everything has just changed so much. And the other piece of it, too, is that people are so much more receptive to watching live video on the internet. I hear more and more times my friends just dropping cable or satellite because they watch other shows online and they can save money that way. So just the way that technology with smartphones and tablets and broadband internet has made it so much easier to consume, too. So it's both providing the content's easier, and it's easier for consumers to consume it too.
Very cool. Yeah, here's how it's going to work a little bit. If you guys have questions as we go through this thing, as Gordon talks, just be sure to write them down, and then if you want to, go ahead and put them on the chat area on the left-hand side there. Just type it in, and then at the end of this, we're going to have a couple, quick question and answer session to try our best to answer those questions as best we can. If we don't know the answers, the cool thing is we'll get back to you. I'll do my best. I'm kind of guy that don't make things up. If I don't know it, I'm not going to tell you, and I will just get back to you the best I can on it. And so let's just go ahead and, guys, rocking with this thing. Gordon, take us away, man.
Yeah, Jeremy, can everybody see my screen now? I've got a presentation kicked up.
If you can't see the screen, be sure to hit no on the left-hand side in the chat, and we'll figure it out for you.
Sounds good. All right. So thanks for the chance to talk to you guys today. I mean, it all starts with just the need, and certainly there's a number of people in every church that aren't able to be there at the services on a regular basis for some reason or another. The first one is, in my mind, the shut-in population or the disabled that aren't able to make it on a regular basis if they're not able to travel, or if they're they're at a stage in their life where they don't have that kind of freedom. We know from the government studies and census that 3.6 million people just in the United States are homebound. And when you think about that 30% of seniors have broadband access at their home, there's an opportunity there to reach out to those people. Certainly, even if they've got phones that can provide the capability to stream video too. There's a need of families. Everybody's had a kid knows what it's like to have a kid with a snotty nose. You just can't take him in to get every other kid with a snotty. You can't take him in to give every other kid a snotty nose too. So one of the parents has got to stay home with the sick child. Families are traveling from time to time on vacation or for another reason. You've got a newborn child, or someone in the family sick, even in the hospital for extended care. You're kind of landlocked, and it's really in isolation to be stuck without the steady diet of some good teaching and some worship to connect with our God. So I think there's also a huge need with college students and Sunday workers. There's some pretty powerful statistics that talk about what happens with that population that leaves the nest when they're 18 to 24 years old. And Lifeway Research talks about that 97% of people who drop out from the church in that age interval say that they drop out because of a life change. Oftentimes that makes a lot of sense. I've got a life change because I'm going to college, or I've got a life change because now I'm going to a regular job, and I very well could be working on a Sunday on a regular basis. But the research shows that 25% of people cite the reason why they stopped going to churches simply because they went to college instead of attending because they didn't have a church that they could go to. 23% say that work responsibilities are preventing them from attending church. So, I mean, these are real people with real needs, and I'm not saying that live streaming is going to automatically make all of those people, be able to contend for the faith or be more apt to stay. But I can tell you what, it's going to make a difference in a number of people's lives. So certainly the other one that I want to mention just while I'm talking, and it's not a huge population, but that's the overseas missions folks, those that are kind of dedicated their lives to going overseas and living in a different culture, in a different time zone, and they're going through a pretty tough cultural shock in those situations. So just the ability to get a homegrown sermon from a home church with the people that they know and the body of church that they remember and have fond thoughts of, this gives them a way for them to consistently. So I mean, the need is great, and I didn't even mention the opportunity for prospective people that might be afraid to step into the church. They might want to get a little sample of what it's like so that they can not have that barrier preventing them from coming in just because they don't know what it's like. So that's the need, and it's great. I also want to make sure that I'm perfectly clear on ways or reasons why you don't want to stream. Okay, and there's 4 that stick out in my mind. You don't want to stream unless you can ensure that you're going to be able to get the video out on a regular basis with quality that you want. So the first thing is just, are you able at your facility to have a reliable internet connection? And my suggestion, even if you want to stream at a rate of 300 kilobits, that's how much data is going to be needed to go up the internet pipe. You're going to want to make sure that you've got about double that just to be sure, at about 600K. So
let me hop in real quick there, Gordon.
And it's easy for you to check at your location what your internet speed is just by going to a website like speedtest.net, which will have you run a little diagnostic test to see how fast your internet link is.
Hey, Gordon, let me hop in just a second. You know, I can speak to this 100%. We launched a internet ministry, a streaming ministry, a couple years ago, and we didn't have very reliable internet, and we got a huge audience very quickly. We had on the second Sunday we did it, we had over 50, I think 50 or 60 people logging in and watching this thing, and it was disastrous for us because we did not have the correct internet speed going up. We ended up, you know, so it would go worship, the worship would be great, and all of a sudden it would start breaking up. And you know, that's the worst of people sitting at home, and now they've got a bad taste for what we were doing. You know, it really hurt us in the long run, so we ended up having to shut down the live stream until this past month, and we're going to relaunch it. We upgraded our internet speed, and things are going to be great now. But it is important to get that reliable internet connection, and definitely that speed test we did. I still use that website all the time just to see what our connection is, and so you know that speaks directly from the church. And, you know, make sure you do have that, because if not, you don't want to hurt your reputation. You want to make sure it's great the whole time.
Yeah, it's really the absolute first piece that you want to make sure is in place. And the other thing I would add too is that it's counterintuitive to think about internet speed, because traditional internet speeds are much faster coming down, because most of the time people are consuming content from the internet to their site. But in the case of web streaming, it's the opposite. And so typically you may even see a 10-to-1 ratio of speed coming down versus going up. And what's important to note is it's your uplink speed that matters. So this is the real thing. And if you don't have this, just like you said, people aren't going to come back. They'll get a bad taste in their mouth, and it's just so much harder to build that trust back once you've lost it. Another gotcha that gets people a lot very often is that they'll do their speed test, or they'll do their testing when no one's at the facility, which will, in a normal situation where you're streaming, that's when you've got the most possible people that are actually there. And so an important thing to make sure that you've got a handle on is what is the internet speed during service hours, but also importantly, does everybody in the church know the Wi-Fi password, and is there no limitation to how much data that those consumers use? Because what we find now is the internet service providers that provide you the internet, they're pretty smart people, and they say, well, if they're going to be consuming just gobs and
It looks like Gordon is locked up a little bit there. I'm going to hop back in here and just wait for him to get unstuck.
gobs of data, load speed and download speed. So this is an area where we want to be careful, and this is kind of the next step. Again, this is about networking. Can I get the video out? But the second rule is, you want to make sure that you've got a clear path, and if you don't have a secure or segmented network, you may want to consider a way to preserve bandwidth for the uplink speed. And if everybody in the church knows the Wi-Fi password, and especially for the first couple of weeks when you're starting to roll out live streaming, the weird thing is people are sitting in the pews just checking it out. So you've got 10 people checking out the live stream because it's new and exciting. They're watching it on their phones, and now what's happened is it kind of causes a catch-22 where you can't get the data back down. So it's an issue that you want to make sure that that you're thoughtful of and mindful of. The third one that's a pretty important one is certainly the pastor and what his willingness is to not be able to take the words back out of his mouth once he's said them. You know, it's one thing to have just a crowd of people that you're talking to and make a mistake, but sometimes pastors are a little bit malicious of what they say and the fact that they may be recorded. And this is a reason why you may want to stream recorded versus live. Yeah. Churches. It's all about being authentic and genuine. I completely agree with you. So, I mean, my encouragement to pastors is, listen, you know, you're real people just like the rest of us, and your personality is valued, and your humility is appreciated. And you know what? We all make mistakes, so it's something that actually turns, if you handle it properly, even if you say something you didn't want to, it works out for the best, like you mentioned. I mean, you can almost gain more respect that way. But let's go to the fourth one, which is, I think, also one of the key ones that you have to make sure that you've got nailed down, and that is audio. The audio, I could almost say, I'm a video streaming company, but I honestly believe that especially for churches, audio is probably the most important thing, and it's something that you probably already have dedicated people that can help you with this on, but you want to make sure that you can get a solid audio source. And you know, the best way to do it is pretty easy. That's just to get an output feed from the soundboard, and you're going to want to maybe have a conversation, and of course include these people in the conversation, because the worship levels and the speakers are at different levels potentially than the spoken word of reading the Bible or the pastor may be preaching. So there may be a couple of tricks that your guys can do from the soundboard to kind of cause an evening out of the audio. But the reality is that you could probably survive with using the audio out of a camera, but my strong recommendation is try your best to get an audio output feed from the audio that's going to the house speakers.
Yeah, most can you hear
me? That's why not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, most churches are actually, most of them have a soundboard, stuff like that, and it's a connection of one cable that will pull straight into your box or your computer, whatever you're using, to send that live stream up. It seems kind of complicated at first, but man, it's so easy. You know, going into it, you just sit up and say, man, I don't know if I can do this. Don't worry about that, the technical side of things. I promise you, it's so easy that it's not that complicated, guys. So don't worry about that at all. I promise you. My mom, who has no technical savvy at all, she could get us live streaming. She does webcasting now. So I'm telling you, if anybody can do it, I'm telling you, it's not that hard.
Okay, so the next big thing that you're going to want to do, and I don't think anybody has a problem paying a little bit of money to the people who own the content of the words or that we're singing or the songs that we're singing, but you know, you got to be aware of it. You want to stay legal, and the reality is it's not very expensive at all. I like to promote two different options that I think provide two distinct purposes. The first one is just with CCLI. I'm sure that you're familiar with CCLI, but they have, in addition to the performance side of things of what you're allowed to have and sing in church, they also have a church streaming and podcast license. And this is really, really affordable. And we're talking at most $300 and as low as $50. So to give you a flavor for it, we'll talk a little bit about pricing and how this weighs into the total spend, because you're going to want to include this as a part of the whole budget. But from just a getting the job done perspective, CCLI is fantastic. You don't have to spend much money. They give you pretty good coverage as to all the songs that you're probably going to be singing in the church anyway, over 200,000 songs in their database. But there's just a couple of catches, and these catches are what makes it possible for them to be this low, to offer a price that's this low. At the bottom there, I've got listed out that you're only allowed to do live and recorded streams that are the full service length. So and this includes podcasts. So whether you're streaming live or you're streaming recorded or someone's downloading a podcast, you get coverage with this, but you cannot trim out just sections of songs. You have to preserve the full service cycle, in order to be able to be legal by using the CCLI. And just for the record, you don't need to have any licensing if you're just streaming the sermon piece. But if you're going to include music that's going to have someone who wrote it that deserves the rights to being paid for their creation of it, then you're going to have to pick one of these two options. The option on the right is by a company in Georgia called Copyright Solutions, and they've got a similar variant or a similar license called WorshipCast. It's got a little bit superior coverage in terms of the breadth of songs that they serve, but also you're allowed to do special events. So with a CCLI, you can only do regular Sunday services. With the Copyright Solutions side, you can do Wednesday nights, impromptu VBS weeks, whatever you want. And in addition to that, you're allowed to do whatever post-production editing you want of the content to cut it and to chop it up to get just single songs out. So you're paying a little bit more money, but in the grand scheme of things, if you're a huge church and you're paying $1,000 a month, that's not that big of a deal. If you're a smaller church and you want this capability, you're going to have to spend $500 to do it. So those are the kind of the two options to be mindful of. And we asked our customers to always provide us with their license numbers, and if they don't have one of these two or another, we force them to wait until they can provide that to us.
Yeah, that's great. The CCL.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. The CCLI is real important. We didn't realize we even needed it for many years, but it really does protect the church. People. I mean, the church is not trying to steal things. We're not trying to take things away from artists. I mean, that's just not what we're trying to do. But really, in the reality of things, it's real important for everybody to get this. There's hundreds and hundreds of churches out there that may be streaming that don't have CCLI. Gordon, you can help me with this. I think they're cracking down on that. I mean, I'm not 100% sure, but
yeah, there's thousands of dollars worth of fines. Yeah. And not everybody gets fined, right? Because you kind of have to be reported, or someone has to know you're doing it. But it's expensive. It's certainly way more expensive than it would cost to just get the license. I would say almost 100 times to 1,000 times more expensive.
Yeah, I guarantee.
So it's just a risk that the church shouldn't have to take.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
This is just one quick slide. If you care about what people see when they watch the video stream, I want you to think in kind of three different dimensions. The first one is, what is the video quality that I'm actually producing on site? We talked about, and I can't enforce this enough, but you want to have a good audio feed from the soundboard. That's pretty much a must if you're in any large auditorium type setting. But the other elements of good original video is some sort of video camera itself. You might be able to pull it off with a cell phone camera. I just wouldn't recommend it, because you can get a halfway decent camera for just a couple $100 even now, or even a few $100s for a nicer one. I mean, obviously you can spend $1,000 or $2,000 or $10,000 if you want to really look professional. But optics and lighting are huge to create a good picture feed, right? Because garbage in, garbage out. So if you start with a good picture feed, and you've got a decent internet uplink bandwidth that's reliable, and make sure that the compression or the tool or the computer or the device that you're using to take the video and get it scrunched down and squeezed down so that it can go up your internet link to get relayed to others. There's there's a wide range of the quality of compression that's out there. So those are the three factors. The kind of quality going in, the uplink speed, and the compression quality in order to optimize the experience for your viewers. So let's get into the basics. You can definitely do this for free. And I kind of broken up this in a mental three-part separation. The part on the left is shooting video, and that includes the audio too. And then there's a part in the middle that's going to take the video, just like I said, and it's going to scrunch it down. And then it's going to transmit it out to some place where then people can get it. And in order for people to know where it's at, you have to find a way to promote it and let them know that it's there, so that that entity that's somewhere in the internet is going to retransmit it for you. So if you're doing this for free, there's a number of companies out there. I made one up. I don't think this is actually one, freechurchstream.com. Maybe it is. But you go to any of these companies, and they'll certainly do the job for you. They'll have a piece of software that you can run from a browser right inside of that computer in the middle, and it'll let you connect to a camera in order to stream to their servers, and they're going to offer it for free. So free streaming isn't free because you still need to do the licensing for it. Even though you're not selling it, you still need to have licensing for it. But it gets the job done. Now there's just a few concerns, and let me just walk through the concerns as to why you may or may not want to do free streaming. The first one is compatibility, and what I mean by compatibility is that not every camera can talk to every computer. In fact, most can't talk to each other. So you have to make sure that the camera output, which could be composite, component, FireWire, USB, HDMI, HDSDI, there's a whole bunch of different video cameras that you can have. You want to make sure that those formats are going to be even connectable to the computer. Otherwise, you're going to have to purchase an expensive box to reformat that video quality. And I've also listed in here, you want to have good camera quality, you want to have good lighting, and that's kind of the left side. So the next one is encoding and transmitting. There's a pretty significant concern for using a standard computer to do the compression. General purpose computers are great for moving files around. They're great for playing games, but the reality is that the advanced algorithms that are used to scrunch down video is optimized when running from software on a computer. And when you've got video, and if you want a decent frame rate to make it feel like it's more lifelike, maybe 30 frames per second, which is what your camera's going to be able to do, software, even with a quad-core, relatively new computer, is still not going to give you the reliability that a dedicated encoding device would, if a dedicated encoding device has the chips that are built to do those types of algorithms. And the other piece of this is with free streaming is that there's an element of repeatability, because if you're going to have a volunteer stand on a Sunday, you get the schedule of who's coming in each Sunday, and someone's sick and someone's got to fill in. You need to be sure, and it could be a concern if you're trying to have this be a part of the process, to have someone new come in here and get the live stream going when the guy that knows all this stuff is on vacation or he got sick that morning. So repeatability is a concern, because you only want to really stream if you can do it reliably and consistently. So there's an education thing there with all the people that are involved. And then from getting the video out, how do you promote it? Well, you can certainly just link to people to this external website called freechurchstream.com, which may have a special web link for your church where they put your logo in and whatnot. But the concerns is that, one, if it's going to be free, there's going to be a reason why it's free. The number one reason why it's free is because they're making money by having advertisements go beside the video. And I've seen a lot more reputable advertisements going with specialized streaming companies that help out with churches. But there's a lot of other streaming companies out there that are free. I'll just name a few: Justin TV, Ustream, Livestream. And the secular free streamers, the kind of commercials that they'll put up, I've seen dancing beer cans and dancing bikini ladies run around the screen, beside a church service, and it's really a potentially damaging thing to do that as a part of your brand, because the church has a brand, the church has a reputation, and you should be concerned about protecting it.
Yeah,
the next one is up. Go ahead.
I was watching. I was helping another church to set up their live stream a couple months ago, and man, it blew me away watching one of their services that we were watching. All of a sudden, you're right, a beer commercial came up and it went full screen, and these ads, the reason why it's free is because of those ads, and it was really damage to the church. They got, I'd say, probably 50 to 100 emails. That week because of the issue that caused with that ad, and so it really damaged the church. So just be careful if you do a free streaming software service. Just be careful what kind of advertisements go up there. Usually I think in the content side of things, they'll tell you, if it can go, like for example, Ustream, they'll put anything and everything up. Justin TV, I think, is the same way. And there's a few other ones out there, so just be careful. It does harm some churches if you do it the wrong way first.
It's more than just the advertisements too, because what I've seen happen a number of times is a church will start out with someone that, okay, they're fine with the advertisements, or they've gone with a church streaming company that doesn't have as many advertisements, or at least they're tasteful enough for a church service. But there's going to be things that you're going to want to do that you don't realize that you want to do from the start. And you're going to get an upsell charge. Oh, you mean you wanted more than 5 people to watch this once? Or oh, you wanted the video quality to be better than terrible? Or oh, you wanted us to save that video for you automatically? Oh, you wanted it to be able to play on things other than a Windows computer? There's just issues that they know that if they can start you in for free, that they can upsell you later to pay the kind of money it would require for them to have a business to do that. So, and archiving is another really important one, because archiving is a very important piece of the process if you care about the video guys. Because what's nice about doing live streaming is that at the end, once the live streaming had finished, you've got the data up in the internet. If you've got a good streaming partner, we'll have that recording available for you to use immediately. And the last one is will it play on any kind of device? That's what that one's for. Will it work on an iPhone? Will it work on an Android? Will it work on a BlackBerry? Will it work on a PC or a Mac? Or a special plug-in that you have to have a special computer to play it? So those are concerns and they're gotchas that I want to make sure everybody's clear about. So things are free, but what are you getting for free, and is it really free? Is kind of the question. It's for your church to decide on an individual by individual basis. But let's look to see what cost structure would be if you were to go down this free route. Now, if you don't already have a computer, you're going to want to get a really powerful computer. It's going to be able to compress it the way you want it to be compressed and maximize quality. Remember, because that's one of the 3 key elements is compression. Am I applying this to make it look good? And so, I don't know, I'm guessing $800 for a decent computer is going to have that kind of performance. It's going to do as good a job as a computer could do, because all those free guys are software-based encoders that go on computers, so you have to have a computer to do it. So after you take into account the licensing and the fact that you're not paying anything for broadcast streaming, at least when you start, you can see kind of a breakdown at the bottom of what you'd expect to spend. And this is just for the CCLI. So if you're a small church, it's $10. If you're a huge church, it's 5,000 people, it's $25. That's negligible money. And note that you're not going to see anything more than 300 kilobits of bandwidth going up from these free providers, because it's just not going to happen. So that's free. So let's talk about the basics of how the paid streaming would work. The same kind of mental model on 2.3, and the same concerns as acquisition, because they're always going to be concerned. What kind of compatibility do I have to what my paid streaming is going to need to have, and how good is the video coming in? The same concern for compression and reliability. Can we repeat this on a regular basis? And from a compression standpoint, when you start to get into the paid streaming, what you'll start to see is people will introduce dedicated equipment to replace the need for a computer, just because the encoding is better to transmit a much better, clearer picture than a computer would be. So there's dedicated devices that you may have to purchase separately in order to get the kind of encoding that you want to be optimal quality. And the trouble is, these dedicated devices, they're going to have to connect to servers in the sky. And those servers are their job. They're the ones that are retransmitting and multiplying the video in order for more and more people to watch. And it's just an extra step of complexity if you have to coordinate that device to talk to what servers. And so there's kind of a catch-22. If you've got a computer, you don't have so much as to necessarily where it goes, as long as you can get someone to hit start. But if you've got the dedicated devices, you've got a little bit more of a problem, because now you've got to point it to a different location because you've got a new stream each Sunday. So I know I'm getting a little bit complicated, but I want you to realize that it's a multidimensional problem, and there's a concern around the repeatability if you're going to go to dedicated equipment that's going to give you a better picture. So here on the right-hand side, there are a lot of concerns with paid streaming, and you have to be mindful of it. One is this video. Where is it going to go? Is it going to go on my own site? Is it going to go within my own site? Or is it going to go on a new site that's someone else's, that's not mine, that I have to put my name and I have to put a skin to make it look good? Or is it just going to any random site? You have to be concerned with whose brand is going to be promoted with this. Even if it's not ads, most streaming providers will force their name to be at the bottom of the page as the ones who's providing that service. Some put it at the top. It could be big, it could be small. You want to be concerned about it. Are they going to archive it for you automatically? What's the cost of them archiving it? Because every time it's a church service, you know, I've never met a church that didn't want to have a recording for their church service. So is this an expense in addition to what the monthly fees are just for streaming? You don't want to take that into consideration. And then again, compatibility. Will it play on any kind of device? And what is the entry price to use the paid streaming? What is it? It's going to be all the equipment. And what is it? Am I locking myself into a commitment? That kind of thing. So that gives you a flavor of the landscape of the concerns for it. Let's talk a little bit about how much it costs. So you've got a computer, same computer. Here's an example. Here's a real competitor, worshipstream.com. They actually have relatively decent quality from what I can tell. I don't have anything bad to say about them. But let's take an example and run the numbers as if we were a church of 500 people. If you're assuming that it's just a little bit better quality than free, we'll say $500K, here's what you should expect to pay. So the computer is $800 if you don't already have one. You get the licensing of $10, and the broadcast streaming minimum is $99 per month. So now the absolute minimum going into the equation is about $109 per month. And you can kind of see how the cost breakdown might work based on the size of the church. You do get a little bit lower and lower. You get more of a price break as you have more people that are watching. But you can kind of get a feel that if you were to buy a computer for $800, up front you maybe save a little bit of money. But the typical monthly cost is going to be in and around $100 to $300 a month. Okay. Any questions on that one before I go on? So it behooves me not to just mention a little bit about Boxcast because we're looking at the problem completely differently. We really have a strong desire to just absolutely make all of the complexity and all of the labor and all of the unnecessary hassle and cause it to just disappear because people at church have enough to mess with. So what we've done is removed all of the confusion and complexity about types of devices, where the data is supposed to go, how it's supposed to go. Is it your site or is it someone else's site? So let's walk through the picture of left, middle, right here of how it's different with Boxcast, because Boxcast has a little pocket-sized device that is the encoder device. It's got broadcast quality compression to squeeze down that picture and get it up. So the concerns about compatibility actually disappear because we've got two versions. One's an SD standard definition version and one's an HD high definition version. And the SD version is compatible with every camera practically on the planet that was ever made. So whether you know it or not, when you bought any camera in the last 15 years, you've had a cable in the box that plugs into the camera, and on the other end of it has a yellow for video, a red and a white for audio, and that's called an RCA cable. So even in Best Buy today or whatever store you were to go to, you cannot buy a camera that does not have this kind of connection. So right from the onset, you're guaranteed to not have any kind of compatibility issues on a small scale. Now, we do have an HD version that we're shipping next month that is going to have an HDMI input. So now you do have the possibility to buy a camera that doesn't have the compatibility with HDMI, but you're going to just want to be mindful of that because there is no universal standard for HDMI that exists really yet. So from a compression standpoint, that's gone because this is a dedicated device. From a repeatability, you don't even have to have a person to touch anything. It just automatically goes. Everything's configured and run based on a schedule, and there is no on-site configuration. You don't even need to have a person there, to be honest, because we even have the capability to turn cameras on and off automatically. You don't have to worry about it going to someone else's site because you can embed the video directly within your own church's site. There is no branding. We don't put our name on the video, so it's completely white labeled. It looks great and brings, I think, a higher level of professionalism to your own site. Worry about who's going to manage the recordings after they're done, after they're shot, who's going to post-produce them, who's going to post them to the website. With just one magic copy and paste of a snippet code, you can drop that right into your website. Much might do a web link, But that little magic snippet of code is going to have the video automatically play according to the schedule and have all the recordings available with it so that someone can always skip back to an earlier service. So week after week after week, you don't even have to touch a thing because no one has to worry about managing the website because the videos automatically align themselves right within your site. We handle archiving, and you don't have to worry about will it play on any kind of device because we've made it so that regardless what connects to the website to see the video, you can watch it on your iPhone, an iPad, even an iPod Touch, Android, any kind of computer. And let's talk about price. Let's talk about entry price. So let's take that same customer of 100 people. And the most important thing that I want you to do for the sake of comparison is in your mind realize that Boxcast isn't charging any more for higher quality video. Our limit for the quality of video is 1.5 megabits for standard definition and 3 megabits for high definition. So you don't have to worry about feeling like you're getting nickel and dime because you want a better quality. We encourage people to have a better quality because we want to have a more lifelike experience. Our broadcast box, you can either buy it outright for $8.99, and if you bought it outright for $8.99, it's about the same cost as a computer. You pay the same $10 for licensing, $50 a month for streaming, and so you're paying basically the exact same money as the other solutions, but getting the benefits of having it be entirely automated. And oh, by the way, I'm sorry, I didn't do that math right. 10 plus 50 is $60. So that should be $60. You have to forgive me for making a mistake there. But if you didn't want to pay anything up front, the rent fee of the box is $50 per month. So that's where you get, without any extra equipment, just $110 per month. And you can see the breakdown of how it would play out if you were to be a larger size church. So that's just a quick run through. That's an introduction to, I think, the first high level presentation as to things to consider when you're trying to figure out how to live stream. There are some things to be mindful of, but I think, like Jeremy said, it's definitely doable. It's definitely possible, and we'd like to help churches maximize the quality and reliability of those that are going to be watching it.
Yeah. Now, Gordon, we what's cool about I guess we've been trying for the past couple of years to get live streaming the way we wanted at our church, and we went through many different services. We tried the free route first. We went to, I think it was maybe Worship Stream, or it was another group we went to next. And we just, honestly, this is their third or fourth year trying it. And we tried Boxcast actually for the first time last night. So it was pretty cool how things progress. And I do want to say, though, that if you're a church with not a big media team, I'm telling you, it's pretty cool to be able to plug this little box in. That's all we did, plug the box in, and you set online. I'm going to start at 6:30, and you hit play. And you don't hit play. Actually, it automatically hits play for you. And whatever signal, whatever video feed you got coming in here, it'll play for you. So it's pretty cool. I'll be honest with you, the technology that Boxcast offers is just pretty cool compared to some of the other things. Like, the other services we tried before, you got to manage the computer. You got to manage the feed right. You got to use a different program. So definitely, if this is your first time thinking about it, please give it a shot. I'm just, Gordon's a great guy, but he will definitely answer the questions you got for you. And I'm not trying to promote one thing. Believe me, as a church, I totally understand budget. I totally understand. Sometimes you just got to do the free route first. That's what we did. We were a church of 800 to 900, and we ended up going that route first. But we learned from our lessons, and we want to make the best of what we have available, and so we went that route with it. Gordon, there is a couple questions here that I wrote down that I do want to answer if we go any farther. I know Doris asked me what was what did we upgrade our internet to at our church. We were actually doing DSL, and we were actually getting a pretty poor connection DSL. We were actually going, there's two, like Gordon was talking about earlier, there's a download rate and an upload rate. And the download rate was, I think it was about 1.5 to 2 megs, something like that. But our upload rate was under like 300 to 500, something like it wasn't great. So we ended up doing it's actually only paying like $30 or $40 extra. It was amazing how that worked out for us. But we ended up getting a 3 meg up, 3 meg down constant EIE network. and so now we're streaming. We'll be streaming great. So, but you can also, there's tons of DSL upgrades you can get if you're just got a straight DSL modem at your church or cable modem. You can still get the upgrade and still get the right quality to produce a good feed.
Yeah, let me add to that too. From my experience, what I found is that if you're at the most inexpensive plan, that you're actually probably going to get the least reliable, consistent uplink speed. And even if you don't have a lot of money, regardless of whether you want to go with us or someone else, the first investment I would make is to get one off of the bottom. A couple of things happen. One, of course, you get a little bit more headroom. But I honestly believe from our experience that the people that are providing you the internet, they give you more flexibility in the type of content and the consistency of the content that comes up. Because what they're trying to do is disincentivize people from using lots of traffic on that lowest rate plan. So I know it costs more money. I know it's an issue, but that's one of the most important investments you can make is to get at least one level up from the bottom, just so you get out from underneath the tighter regulations, and they call it traffic shaping, whereby they'll slow your connection down based on how much traffic you're using. Sure. Because those numbers are oftentimes burst numbers. They will look great for speed tests. When you try to do something like live streaming where you're consistently getting the data out, they'll start to cramp that down and just drop the data as if it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now, another question that was brought up was, members staying home. Because you're offering this awesome thing, people are like, dude, I'm not going to church. I'm gonna stay at home today and just relax on my couch. And we honestly thought the same thing. We thought, man, what happens if we show up on a Sunday and 30 people are actually skipping church and staying at home? And I'll be honest with you, what happened with us was it was actually really cool. People came, they didn't stay at home for us. They actually came and they actually ended up telling their friends to watch online. The friends that didn't typically attend the church. So we had family members from different states watching. We had the parents that were sick with the sick kid. They were watching. We honestly, it worked out great because, and the more I've talked to other churches that have the live streaming, I haven't really heard the downgrade in attendance because you offer this extra service. And I don't know, Gordon, if you've heard anything else, then please jump in and say, hey.
Yeah, well, my experience has been very similar to that, and that's a discussion that happens at almost every church that we go to talk to. And what you'll find, especially with some of the mega churches, quote unquote mega churches, and in certain parts of the country, there's this strange behavior where there's a big chunk of people will just go from church to church to church as it becomes the next most important thing. And another issue that big church in particular is that it's really hard to make sure that everybody is connected, and that's probably the big church's biggest struggle, is how do they get people to connect to the church. But my opinion is if someone isn't coming to church in person to have the fellowship, to get the Sunday school study time outside of that, to meet with people on a personal by personal basis, you're almost losing the game of the Great Commission before you've even started to some degree. Yeah. So if you really have a heart for meeting the needs of people that are outside that can't come in for whatever reason, I think that the benefit of just getting the gospel preached from every mountaintop in the world is so much more powerful than trying to be defensive and trap people in. You really want to be open, I think, and I think in the long run what's going to happen is you're going to benefit from it. So that's my experience as I've worked with different churches.
Sure. A couple questions I see over here real quick, and I've got one more to go back to. Is it says is the number of 500 attendees, the number of viewers? The attendees refers to the church. Is that correct?
Yeah. The numbers are how many people do you have on a weekly Sunday. So yeah. If you have 50 or 500 weekly attenders that are there on a given Sunday, you can expect to spend $60 per month if you've got the equipment.
Yeah, usually a lot of companies do that to help churches out, especially the smaller churches. At least that's my understanding of it. Let's say you have a church attendance of 2,500. Obviously, you'll have a bigger budget to hopefully pay for that. A church of 75. Am I right with that, Gordon? Or
you're exactly right. Okay. And the way that we tell people, and I probably should have put it on a slide somewhere here, at least for our service costs, we find it almost scales perfectly with how much spend on printing brochures on a Sunday.
Yeah.
What we say is that for less cost than printing brochures each Sunday, you can offer the service to everybody that has these needs that's not inside your church walls.
That's great. We actually did the same thing at our church. We took the cost of how much it's costing to print in our color, basically on our color printer, and it actually came up more. We were paying more for our bulletins than it was for our online service that we could actually reach more with. Reach the outside church with instead of reaching inside. It worked out great for us and really kind of blew our minds a little bit on the cost comparison of what we're actually paying and what the return of investment is for us. All right, let's see what else we got. Let's see. Can you track the number of viewers? That was a quick question there. Gordon, any thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts on this one, tracking numbers of viewers, is this is one of the spooky things that, if you go with a free service or even some of the paid services, people traditionally will try to upsell you to have knowledge of who's watching or how many people are watching. And at least I can speak on behalf of us. We actually use the information on how much people are watching to charge with. So our company bases our pricing based on how much people watch. And so we have to keep track to the second of everybody that watches in order for us to give the appropriate pricing. And at our most expensive point, the way we do it is if you had, let's say you had 20 people that each watched for a half an hour, then that would be, because not everybody's going to watch the whole time. So if you had 20 people that watched each about, on average, a half an hour, that would be 10 cumulative hours watched for that month. And our most expensive price is $1 per cumulative viewer hour, so that would have been $10. But as you have more and more in the month, our price dramatically starts to get reduced and reduced to give the effect of the pricing that you see here. So our experience is that on a 500-person church, you're going to see on the order of anywhere from 60 to 100 or maybe 80 to 110, somewhere in that range of numbers of people watching. And we've got a plan where it says, hey, if you do 100 viewer hours, we'll charge you $50 a month. And that's what got you to the $50 there.
Yeah.
So we think that you can probably, a church of about 500 people in person, and expect to pay roughly $50. So our pricing scales exactly with the number of people that are watching, much like a utility company would charge you for how much water you use or how much electricity you use. So it's great to give you the flexibility to do just a little or scale on volume to do a lot.
You know what we did at our church was we actually went and approached the congregation with it, and basically said, "Hey, listen, this is an opportunity. If you are a mission-minded kind of guy, if you're a mission-minded kind of family, come to us and let us know you're mission-minded. Let us know what you would like to do. If you want to get in on this program, if you want to help us out, we actually had a couple people donate straight to this opportunity, and it actually helped us out dramatically." So people are out there really looking for new ways to reach new people. And that's what God wants us to do. He wants us to build His kingdom. And, in order to do that, sometimes people are willing to just step up. And, we just know that as churches. So be sure not to hide the fact that you're thinking about doing online streaming. Let your congregation know about it. You may have someone hop up and just say, hey, I'm in, and financially back it. You never know. Let's see what else we got. I know we've got a couple of online giving questions. Online giving, what we've done in the past is honestly we've produced the whole service. And during the giving, our pastor actually looks around the screens and say, "Hey, listen, if you're online, there's a online giving link to the left. Just please click that." And actually, people give online. There's actually churches, and there's a church I talked to recently up in New York, that 60% of their giving is given online. And this is a church of 2,200. It almost blew my mind of how they were able to flip-flop that they're giving. So basically, people give online now, and they set themselves up as reoccurring. So now that church of 2,500 knows 60% wise how much offerings coming in each Sunday, and all the online streaming does is basically help promote that. I know another church that actually does something a little differently. They will do a live feed and then have a pre-recorded, offering message. So they'll produce a live feed and they'll send a pre-recorded offering message in between, and then they'll go back to the offering and go back to the service when it continues. It's pretty cool how all the different options are out there. Let's see. Did I miss any questions? I'm going back through. I'm trying to make sure I didn't miss a question, but I think I might have hit them all. Guys, if we missed any questions, or if you're just like, I'm so confused, I don't get it, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm sure Gordon, I'm sure you'd be open to answer some questions, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah. My email's on the front page here. Just Gordon@boxcast.com.
If you have any questions, guys, feel free to give us an email, a shout out. Just let us know. Honestly, we're here to help. Oh yeah, sorry, good. The question about the streaming, I don't want to miss this. We are at Pajama Conference. Are pretty excited. Pajama Conference. If you don't know, we are. I'm a children's pastor, so obviously that's where my heart goes. And honestly, we are behind the scenes right now. I can't give a whole lot of details about it, but we're behind the scenes right now working on a program to encourage churches to record their children's ministry, record their main message, record their activities, just record their service. And that's all that takes is really a video camera. It didn't have to be HD quality. It could just be a standard video camera. You set it up and record. And we are actually thinking about having a way to do I don't know how to say it, a TV show, but it's on the internet. And basically round-the-clock show children's ministry programs. So listen, I just want to encourage as children's pastors, if you are interested in helping me with that program, definitely shoot me an email and say, hey, I'm interested. Let's do this thing, because what happens is, especially with online live streaming, the adults are being serviced and the children typically are in the back room playing. I would love to get to the point where we have an adult service play, and then right after that, I'll live stream a children's service, or like Gordon was talking about, a pre-recorded service. It would be awesome to say, I just had a family experience, on a Sunday morning sitting in my living room. The adults got ministered to, the children got ministered to, and, honestly, that's kind of where we're missing out on a lot of things. Right now, I can't tell you a children's ministry that's live streaming, or a children's ministry even recording. What's it called, Gordon, when you're pre-recorded?
Some call it podcasting, right? Because you can
That's true.
have your videos. But just streaming. Most people just stream recordings of those services.
Yeah, so even all these services we've talked about, you can pre-record things and stream them out. So we're working pretty cool, guys. Tom, Tony, you guys, if you guys want to hook up with me, anybody else that you know of, I'm probably within 2 months of at least getting something out, on digital format to play with, and I've got to talk to Gordon a little bit and see kind of what I can play with on his end as well. And our main goal, and I know Gordon agreed with me here, our main goal is to reach the audience that's not being reached. Our main goal of what we do as churches is to reach those that wouldn't typically walk in your doors on a Sunday morning. And I think streaming may be the only way of doing it. Think about that. I could reach somebody in Africa right now that's watching this. Through a lot of my pajama nerds, I'm talking to people in Australia. So, it's amazing the technology is out there, and we just got to kind of hop in there and take advantage of it. God created this technology for us, and we shouldn't let the devil take control of it like he does on a lot of websites right now. So, if you have any questions, guys, I'm going to go ahead and try to wrap this up before I get too involved in ministry here and really pour my heart out, because I'm pretty good at that. Thank you guys so much for attending. Gordon, I appreciate you so much being able to come in and put your expertise behind it. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to shoot us emails. I'm actually going to record this and shoot it up on the Pajama Conference website. I would encourage you to send your IT people there, send your pastors there, just to take a look at the options. I appreciate you guys so much, and thanks for attending, guys.
Thanks for the opportunity, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
All right, we're signing off. If you haven't hopped off yet, actually, the next Pajama Hour I'm actually thinking about doing is going from top-down leadership to team. It changed the way our church does things. It really revamped the way we do things. So I'll send that email blast out soon. Just look forward to it, guys. Thanks.